Hello everyone and welcome to the Deercast. By popular request from our viewers, today we're going to be talking about ballistic turrets. Now this has the potential to be quite a controversial video, firstly because a lot of people don't believe in ballistic turrets, particularly for hunting applications, and secondly because some of the language I'm going to use to describe ballistic turrets is going to be very basic, and I'm going to try and make it as practical as possible, but that may mean that I miss out on some of the technicalities of it, and I'm sure there'll be one or two people that will pick up on that and potentially leave some negative comments on it. So what is a ballistic turret? We've got an example of one here on a Schmidt & Bender. You can just see it there. Essentially, they are turrets that allow you to make adjustments to your elevation and or windage without having to unscrew the scope cap covers. So essentially, they're in some ways exposed turrets. And normally what they allow you to do is either adjust the reticle in minutes of angle or milliradians. Not going to go into the scientific basis of each of those. Essentially, they allow you to adjust the reticle in terms of in angular measurements. What that comes down to in a very practical sense, minutes of angle adjust in inches at 100 yards or even beyond that, and milliradians adjust in centimetres at metres. So 1 MOA, for example, is 1 inch at 100 yards, is then 2 inches at 200 yards, 3 at 300, and so on and so on. And milliradians work in a very similar way. There are lots of different pros and cons to each. To me, from a hunting perspective, I work in milliradians purely because I find it easier to think of centimetres and metres than I do of inches and yards. So the advantages to a ballistic turret are if you know what your bullet drop is, or you're able to judge windage relatively precisely, is that you can adjust your scope when you want to engage with a target or a deer at a certain distance, and you know what the adjustment is. So for me, with one of my rifles, I know it drops 2 centimetres at 200 metres. So on my turret, I click 2 clicks on it, and then I know I can just aim absolutely bang on, rather than having to hold over or sort of guesstimate where I need to place the crosshairs to get that shot absolutely correct. Some people will say you can compensate for that by adjusting your reticle so there's either already an inch high at 100 metres or 100 yards, and therefore it's sort of the drop is always going to be within the sort of kill zone on a target. For me, I like to have my rifles absolutely bang on at 100 metres in case I'm going to head or neck shoot something, and then if it's any further than that, I know I can just adjust the ballistic turret for us. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and so this one is one from Schmidt & Bender. It's a very small, low profile, adjusted in centimetres, and is really, really good. Some of them will feature what's called a zero stop, so you can't, once you've set it, you can't turn it below zero. So once you adjust it back, that's it. You can only adjust on elevation, you can only adjust upwards, you can't necessarily adjust downwards, which some people will say is a disadvantage. Some of them you've got to pull up to be able to twist down. Some of them have sort of locking cams around the outside to be able to flip them into place. They all adjust in various different ways. One of the other disadvantages I find for them, and this one isn't at fault for that, is that some of them can become really quite big and bulky and sort of very tactical looking, and they, particularly on a hunting rifle, they can get a little bit in the way. One of the other disadvantages of them is that it can slow down your shot slightly if you're not particularly quick or used to doing it. So if you see a target at 200 metres, you might only have a couple of seconds to get down on the bipod or on sticks ready to take that shot. And if you then spend all that time fussing around twiddling your dial on the scope, that might remove that ability to do it. Whereas those people who've adjusted their rifles and perhaps have them an inch high at 100 metres, they just get down, squeeze the trigger, off it goes. I've always used them, and so I've sort of got used to them over time. I think they're a great little bit of kit. Each of them works in a very different way, so I'm not going to sort of tell you how you set them up necessarily on this video, but that is a very quick intro into ballistic turrets. Hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to comment, like and subscribe. If you've got any questions, leave them below and we'll definitely try and answer them. And at some stage we'll do a more in-depth dive into ballistic turrets as well. But that was just a very quick intro for you all.